You are watching The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, your escape to reality.
Doesn't mean the internet's going to work.
Yeah, I'm just saying, did you recharge your phone?
Charge your phone.
Well, I might be able to plug it into this battery backup.
We're live.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, the internet. I forgot you were there.
Oh, hi.
We're doing a little troubleshooting.
Yes, bear with us, please.
So Jay's power just went out right before the live stream. So he is streaming over his phone.
For no reason.
Well, I'm sure there's a reason. There's no weather.
There are no good reason.
Or any obvious reason. I think what it is.
You're right.
It was a random quantum phenomenon. There's no way to explain it.
Yeah.
Random quantum.
The thing that really sucks is I'm homeschooling my kids. So like it's very challenging because there's lots of activity that even with my mother-in-law here, who is a retired teacher, I've got to go down and quell problems and answer questions and print shit and constantly, being pulled out.
Yeah.
So I get up, I take care of the kids. I didn't even have time this morning to take a shower, So I've been looking forward to all day. I'm like, yep, I'll take a shower at like 4:15 right before and I'm talking to my mother-in-law, and then she ate up about 20 minutes of my time, which is when so now live stream, because I know my town, and when like the power goes out this long, something really bad happens. It's going to be at least 4 or 5 hours.
I used to live there. I know the feeling, and I feel for you. Lousy.
Can you guys hear and see me okay?
Yeah, you're stuttering a little bit. You don't have great bandwidth.
Yeah, it's not exactly 60 frames per second. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll stay as long as I can. And because of everything that just happened, I didn't prepare a quiz, so I want to apologize to everybody.
No quiz.
Not accepted.
No quiz. There's no Kara. As Kara said previously, she's getting into her studies now. She's
studious.
Yeah. So her schedule is still a little bit in flux too.
Yeah.
So it's going to be week to week, but I think for a while we're not going to count on Kara for the Friday night thing. But maybe we'll get in some replacements, some substitutes.
Sure.
Some guests.
I might be able to plug this into I have a UPS system for my computer.
Yeah, you should be able to.
I think it's getting juicy.
Jay, don't you have any bricks? Don't you have any battery backup things that you keep around?
I mean, no, I have a generator when the power legit.
But you don't have
out,
any like small portable battery backups?
No, I have
wow.
I have one in a luggage somewhere. You know what I mean?
One of these. Here, Jay,
Yeah.
you could have this one.
Yeah.
I
Thank
try
you,
to always
Evan.
have
Plug
one
in,
ready to go.
quick.
Yeah, I always keep one charged up in my backpack, so that's could always get at least a couple recharges off of that in an emergency.
Yeah.
Helps you right now, Jay, right? Yeah. No.
Right. Well, we were planning on going over to our mother's house tonight anyway, because today is our father's birthday.
Right.
Yeah.
Would have been
Oh,
90
wow.
today.
Wow.
Yeah, it would have been 90.
Yeah.
And the tradition is to have fusilli and meatballs, which
Because
is his
the night
favorite
before
meal.
he died, well, the night before, well, he's got a lot of favorite meals.
Well,
but-
that's on the that's one of his favorite meals.
Right.
And we had that the night before he died. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remember, Steve, I remember you were there. He called me over. He's like, Bob, guess what we're having tonight? Fusilli and meatballs. He was so excited. Now, I love that dish. Now, fusilli is like the long, curly pasta. And
Holds
and that
the
was
sauce really well.
that was a great meal. He was so excited about it. And that's a great memory to think that he was looking forward, anticipating that meal for hours before we ate it. And then I remember eating, you were at one end, I was at the other end, and Dad was on the right.
Yeah.
And having a Trump conversation.
Yeah.
Which we won't get into.
Yes, but I will say,
Right.
I will say that he said something outlandish about Trump, and I jumped to my feet and I said, "I bet you $1,000 that's bullshit." And we shook hands.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So he totally reneged on that.
He never paid,
Yeah.
never paid me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that
man.
wouldn't really be fair to hold
Well-
your elderly father to that kind of a bet.
Isn't it? It's amazing how we live our lives, not realizing, just how special these day-to-day moments are, because you couldn't really live your life constantly in that frame of mind. You know,
Yeah.
like we tell people to appreciate, the thing that I wish that I did more. I did it, but I didn't do it as much. I wish that I just went over and spent more time with my parents in the last 5 years. It's just so hard, a full-time job and raising a family and everything. But you will thank
too.
yourself if you do it after you lose your parents or anybody important in your life. If if you put your time in, you're gonna. First off, it's good because it's these are the people that love you and you love. But on top of that, regret is a very powerful and horrible thing to live with.
Oh, gosh.
And you want to mitigate your
Terrible.
regret. So put your time in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely did that with my father, and very happy. We reconciled very late in his life, but
Yeah.
it was definitely the right thing to do. And yeah, I would not be feeling
Right, Ev? I mean, think
feeling
about
right
it.
about
Like,
that
I mean,
if he had gone that way.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And it's funny, like the unsaid things that I was just talking to Bob about this. There's a lot of people in your life that you have specific memories with and jokes with. And if you lost that person, all of that goes with them. Like there are things that like I see on the internet that I know that I'll send to Bob or send to Steve or send to somebody else, right? Like there's things I send to everyone at the SGU. And there are things about like one of my friends that died where whenever I come upon it, I have the same exact feeling every time. I would have sent that to Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He would have loved this. You have that in your
yeah.
head. It's really, that's a hard thing to deal with because, you're constantly reminded of that person and living your life and you can't do anything about it. It's just stuck. It's a part of you at that point.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, we talk all the time, even still, what are we, 13 years since Perry died?
Yeah.
13 years?
Yep.
And it still like comes
2007,
up
yeah.
all the time. Like, what would Perry be doing now? Like, what would he think about this thing that happened?
Oh yeah.
Perry had very strong opinions about, and he
Yeah.
loved politics. He would be reveling in everything. I mean, this would be like a smorgasbord for him. Like every day would be something to talk about.
The drama that all of this generates. That's the thing. The beautiful thing about Perry is that he was able to appreciate and really enjoy the roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
I'm resenting where we are right now, and it's painful for me. But you talk to Perry, and you could hear him smiling as he would be discussing whatever that day's lunacy was. And Steve's right. I mean, my God, it's every day now. Every day there's something that happens.
Apparently, we're living
Every
in a
hour.
banana republic. you know,
Yep.
I don't even like bananas.
with all due respect to banana republics. Yeah, it's going to get worse, you know, definitely before
Yep.
it gets better. Absolutely.
You know, if you guys can hear, I know I'm talking a lot, and I'm worried that you're not getting everything I'm saying. But I had a very interesting thing happen on Facebook this week where, you know, I am deliberately keeping a lot of conservative friends in my feed because I want to know what they think. You know, I want to hear from the inside of their minds, like what's going on, and get their perspective, because it gives me a lot of information. But I also notice that it keeps me in check with my humanity. Like, I don't want to dehumanize people that I disagree with politically. And I think it's very important that we do that we keep that in mind, that these are people. You know what I mean? They're you know, fantastically misinformed, but you know, we can't let our anger at the situation make us hate them. We have to work with them.
Are you saying people have flawed brains? Is that kind of the bottom line?
Yeah. I mean, we got to have, you know, it's not just humility though. We have to be, you know, we have to be human and caring. You know, it's very easy to just make an us or them thing. I think we're hardwired for the us or them mentality to such a degree that, you know. So anyway, so he wrote this post. He copied a link that shed some light on why conservatives are feeling the way that they do about Democrats. And they listed all of these things about Democrats, liberals, the other side, because, you know, I don't consider myself truly a Democrat or truly a liberal. I'm really a moderate, and I self-identify,
or I would say
as
independent, but yeah, in the aggregate. But I think generally our views sort of span the spectrum, view by view, because if you take like just an evidence-based, logic-based approach on any given issue, it could land pretty much anywhere on the political spectrum, on various political spectra.
Yeah, but don't forget, there's also judgment calls, value judgments.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That are you know, not scientific.
Right. You know,
I
tend not to talk about this, but in some fundamental ways, my value judgments actually align more with the right than the left, you know. But you know, I do think we're in the period of time that completely transcends that kind of normal politics or political spectrum, because we're talking about more fundamental issues like basic transparency, basic competence, you know, adhering to the norms of democracy. Those kind of things are at stake, not, you know, which political ideology is going to be, you know, is going to dominate policy. It's not even about policy anymore. It's about just the basics of government. You know, when one candidate says he's not going to respect the peaceful transfer of power, that is nothing. I don't care what side they're on. It doesn't matter where they are politically. That's just fundamentally undermines our democracy. You know?
Yeah. I mean, but Steve, you know, the bigger picture is he has all these ginned up excuses to not follow the norms. And, you know, without...
But they're
look,
transparent
we can get into
bullshit.
the details of this. I think...
Right? I'm just saying that the mail-in votes are rife with fraud. It's just making up transparent bullshit, which you can always do. You know, there's always something you could make up to justify
in politics,
any position
if you're not
want.
expecting it, you know, you're looking in the wrong place.
But let me get back to my point and just finish that thought. So what happened was he was describing a extraordinarily extreme version of the hyper socialist liberal in the United States, which is a unbelievably small percentage of the people that live in the United States.
It's a straw man.
So their interpretation, the straw man, liberal, and the straw man conservative. And I pointed out, listen, you know, I reminded them of the straw man conservative that I'm aware of too. I said, you know, I read about the crazy things that they say that all the conservatives believe and think and are doing. And I know that the vast majority of the people that live in the country are not that. Just like you should know that it isn't the liberal stuff that you're hearing is bullshit too. That's not where the vast majority of us are. We're all actually moderates that lean left or right. If you take the survey online that tells you where you stand politically, most people fall into a moderate zone. with a left or right lean. So
Mm-hmm.
the scary thing is what we're dealing with is not people that are politically opposed to us. We're just dealing with misinformation.
Yeah.
If they knew what the truth is, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. And the other thing I found out, he said, it's not that we like Trump so much as we hate the liberal agenda that they've been fed. They can't defend a lot of the things I'm seeing now this past couple of weeks is that they're not defending Trump anymore. They're just saying, we just can't stand the horrible, Democratic agenda, which is misinformation.
Yeah. It's
Again,
a straw man.
We're misinformed. I think we're legitimately, those of us who are on the opposed Trump, I think we even skeptics get fed misinformation about what conservatives, quote unquote conservatives, think and feel today. I think there's a lot of misinformation. And we have to recognize that, and we have to admit it to ourselves. Everybody needs to admit to themselves that misinformation is going in. I mean, I'm seeing things that contradict. I'm reading like legitimate information online that contradicts like the crazy stuff that actually seeped into my head, because I'm just so angry that I'll believe almost anything. When I first read it, if it's anti-Trump, I'll believe it. And then I have to calm down and go and do my research and find out, how true it is. But we have such a default to hate the other side. And I think what we need to do is start talking to conservatives more about the fact that crazy misinformation is coming from both sides, and kind of create some type of island where we could coexist, because we're going to have to coexist after this election.
Yeah, we have to figure
way or
out a
the
way
other.
to have a shared reality again. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
The
That's a good
democracy
way
is
to put
not
it, Steve.
sustainable if everyone's living in their own silo of facts, of information, of reality. There's no way
Yep.
to have any kind of common ground. There's no way. Politics is about compromise. How can you compromise if there's no common ground? It's just going to be, the extremes fighting back and forth, just past the middle, and whoever has the slight, like the 50.1% control, just being completely unleashed, and it's completely dysfunctional. That's basically where we are now. And yeah, we've been arguing about like what's the ultimate cause of this situation where we no longer have a shared reality, and it's complicated. There's a lot of things going on. Social media is definitely playing a role. I think a lot of it comes down to the changes in mainstream media as well, getting rid of the fairness doctrine, for example. So it's just been progressively over time. And we saw it, and we talked, getting back to our father, for example, we have talked politics with him for our entire lives, right? So we were able to see in real time, almost day to day, the transformation of our father from a moderate, conservative, reasonable, fact-based person that you could talk with about anything to a Fox News robot drone. And it was scary. It happened, and we were powerless to stop it from happening. Because
But it was a slow process too, Steve.
it was a slow, steady process. But Fox News had his attention 99% more than he had our attention, and we had his attention, and it was really sad to watch.
Yeah, I'm trying to do this thing where I'm like, when I used to, just a week ago, driving down my street, whenever I see anybody supporting Trump, I become furious, right? And I'm trying to program myself now to feel sorry for them, because of the unbelievable misinformation that they've been fed. Everybody, the world needs critical thinking now. Like I don't know, more than ever. I don't know if anyone could actually legitimately make that statement, but we as skeptics have to be the adults in the room.
Yeah.
I think that we are primed to be the adults in the room, because because our critical thinking gives us a leg up on misinformation in a way that anybody can't say that they get it like we get it. We get it in a way that most people don't. And I think we have to start looking past this election to getting things back to a healthy place.
Yeah.
And it's got to start with us. As much as I lose it about Trump, guys. I completely lose it every day.
That's why I never tease you about him. Never.
Yeah, I mean, it's the panic. I have panic attacks about what could happen. Like we came in World War II, we came damn close. The United States came close. We were one election away in World War II to supporting Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I've been reading about that and how close we came to things going really bad in World War II. And it came down to one election, and here's yet another one of those elections in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
We have to keep our heads on straight, and we have to talk people off the cliff, well, on both sides. So I think maybe on social media, like our strategy going forward should be to try to get people to think of themselves more as moderates and not as extremists, you know?
You know, our pro, like, you know, and there's a lot of this in the chat. Obviously, we're more freeform on these live streams than we are on the podcast itself. But still, we're focusing on, this is really, even though we're talking about politics, we're talking about applying critical thinking to politics.
Of course.
And it's, yes, Jay, you're right. There's a tendency to get into your ideological silos and to take sides, and to demonize the other side, you know, to think that the other people they're deplorable, they're idiots or whatever. But that's a path to destruction. That, again, that's not sustainable for democracy. And the solution can't be, well, we just have to completely win and control all the levers of power. Again, that one party rule is not sustainable either. So what, you know, again, I think as critical thinkers, rationalists, skeptics, whatever, certainly we're trying to model this. The approach is to try to understand this phenomenologically. Right, and this has always been our approach. It's not so much, oh my God, how can that person be so stupid? It's how can an otherwise intelligent person, which is true in at least some of the cases, believe the world is flat, right? Or believe in QAnon, or believe what X, Y, or Z. How does that happen? There's a pathological process at work, and just we need to understand it. You know, as scientists, as critical thinkers, as a community, and that does mean having compassion, which I don't think is patronizing. This is just for humanity in general. We have to first, you know, really make sure that we're cleaning house ourselves. But I think the only way to really deal with this constructively and effectively is to try to stay above the fray, you know, at least publicly. Again, what you do in your living room, who cares? But like when we're talking about this publicly, we're not taking sides. We're saying, how do we inject more critical thinking, more objectivity, and by extension, more facts and reality into the political discussion? And I have, you know, watched many programs and read articles, et cetera, where, you know, if you put even extreme Trump supporters and progressives into the same room and let them talk, after a while, they realize they're the same. At the core,
they can agree on 78% of
there is
things.
common ground. So what's the common ground? Everyone thinks that they're the good guys, right?
Of course.
You know, obviously there are bad people all over, and yes, maybe the disproportionate one side or the other, whatever, racism, all that. But you know, you know, you're just typical farmer from whatever, or whatever, you know, a rural Trump supporter in Pennsylvania or whatever. What do they care about? When it really gets down to brass tacks, they want all the same stuff we do. You know what I mean? You know, or I should say liberals or progressives do. They want, and they think that they have their reasons for thinking that their approach is the correct one, and that why the other side is wrong. And it wasn't hard. They don't necessarily have to agree on the politics or agree on the solution, but they started to agree on some core concepts. You know, like, yes, we should have fairness in government. We should have transparency. All these things. You could find common ground pretty easily. And then the trick is then how do you build from there? The problem is that politics has been demonizing the other side in their own way for so long that we lost that even most fundamental common ground. When each side doesn't think that the other side is is capable of being fair, or whatever, when they're so thoroughly demonized, you know, then there's no way to have a discussion.
It's gonna be really, you know, from an intellectual standpoint, it's going to be interesting to observe what happens in the United States over the next 6 to 12 months. You know, but being someone, you know, I consider myself an activist, and I feel like I need to get involved and do things and try to move the needle in what I think the right direction is. And that's the thing I think that is the the big question is, what can we possibly do?
Yeah.
And that's why I said today, the only thing I could think of is that we have to try to start a dialogue, and we have to stop pointing fingers and screaming at each other at some point.
Yeah.
You know, like the next 30 days until we hit that election, 35 days, whatever it is now, it's going to be impossible, because we're ramping up to the big fireworks show. But after the show, if things go the way I think they're going to go, you know, we have to be the adults in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we do that? What's that going to look like?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Right.
scared shitless, guys. I am scared shitless, because I feel like there's been so much negative energy built up. You know, people have such an amazing head of steam to be in opposition with each other. Like, I'm expecting violence and people to get murdered on the streets. Like, you know, these things have already happened even before we got to the fever pitched level that the election is going to bring us to.
Mm-hmm.
And then what? Are we just going to be okay? Are we just going to be okay with that? Or are we going to do something? Like, what do you do in these situations? I have no idea. I'm just reading about history now and learning about other times that things like this kind of happened in other places in history. And it's I can't find any answers on how to approach this and what's the right thing to do other than being the adults in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And find common ground. What else can we, if anybody has an idea, please email us at info@theskepticsguide.org, and we'll share it. You know, if we agree with you or think it's a good idea, we'll share it. Yeah, but do it. Send them in. You know, like, I'd like to know what people think.
Yeah, and at some fundamental level, it comes down to teaching critical thinking too. You know, like when you have a conversation with somebody and they're committing every logical fallacy in the book, you know, you almost have to back up and don't bother talking about emotional topics with somebody who can't think. You know, you have to focus more, try to find something you agree on, and teach critical thinking, basic critical thinking skills that way. You know, but it's hard. It's hard when we're in the middle of an election. Obviously, we have to. We can't.
Yep.
We have to focus our attention.
Tension's high, pressure's high. It's all very right now.
Let's shift our gears to
And
COVID.
Evan,
We passed 200,000 dead in the United States.
Oh God.
We're still, ranking up about 1,000 dead a day. We're at almost 7 million cases. The curve is starting to turn around again. It's not spiking, but it's not going down anymore for the last week or so. A couple of weeks, it's been turning back up.
Is that back to school, Steve?
Well, it's probably partly that. Yeah, I mean, who knows? There's a lot of factors.
So what do you think? Like, my kids' school just sent us a their update on where things are, and they're asking us to send our kids back to school in about 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
like
Really?
days a week. Yeah, like I got the sense that that's what they're hoping that everyone's going to do, because it's a huge strain on the teachers and on the school systems to have all this remote learning and everything. It's a complete clusterfuck.
Mm-hmm.
With all good intentions.
It was a plan B, and there was no plan B. They cobbled it together in a matter of months.
Yep.
Independently, each school district almost practically independent of each other.
Yeah.
And Evan,
very little state or federal guidance.
I think that they're trying hard, and they're doing half the kids in school, half social, half online learning. So the density's decreased by half. They're being very transparent. They are doing testing. They're doing temperatures. So they're doing what they can.
Right.
But the thing is. When my wife went to pick up our daughter earlier in the week, she said, once kids get out of school, masks come off, they're intermingling, everything goes out the window.
That's right.
That's it. All the protocol is
being
gone.
people.
The kids are just completely mixing.
Human beings being human.
So it's that's tough.
So it's going to take until a real vaccine. That's what it's going to take.
Vaccine.
But it's not at this point. We don't know. I think it'll take at least an effective vaccine, but we don't even know if that's going to do it. We just seriously don't. If any of the
what if it's 50% effective? What if it's only 50%, which is totally possible, right?
Or it's very short-lived, or whatever.
But that's all. But isn't that kind of all we have, really? I mean, as far as
But the
a
question is,
potential
will it be enough
solution
to-
for
Yeah.
this will be omnipresent until it's
No, well, the experts
somehow
are saying
fixed.
the vaccine will help, but here's another fear, right? So the vaccine will help, but we have to do it in conjunction with social distancing and mask wearing and hand washing,
Yes.
etc.
Oh yeah, you can't flip a switch and go back
and
to
if- the thing is,
2019.
The problem will be if people think, oh, we have a vaccine, we can stop all this nonsense now. You
Yeah,
don't have to wear
and
my
they
mask
will.
Yeah,
everywhere.
no, it's not it.
becomes the ultimate prophylactic.
Yeah.
So, Steve, I want you to answer two
Wrong.
questions.
Two
The
questions.
first one is, do you think I should not send my kids back to school in 2 weeks?
So again, it depends on the how your individual school system is handling it. Like, what's the protocol, right? That's what you need to know.
Yeah.
And I think that in Connecticut we're lucky because the rates are still pretty low, and there hasn't been much of an uptick from school. So I would monitor that closely. Right now, I think risk versus benefit. It's reasonable to send your kids to school, as long as your school system is making reasonable attempts at reducing spread. But
Yeah.
I would keep a close eye on the numbers, man. But I think the schools will be the first to know if there's an uptick, and they'll send kids home
Yeah.
again.
Well, guys, I just got a text from Claudette. She's my ex-wife. She's an ICU nurse. She's like, definitely an uptick of COVID in the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely an uptick. And this is in, she's in like the Bridgeport, Connecticut,
Yeah.
Fairfield,
Yeah.
Connecticut
Yeah.
area. So it's like,
So keep an eye on it, is what you're saying, and see where things are in a couple of weeks. I mean,
Yeah. What else
it's
can you
such
do?
an unbelievably hard decision. All right,
Yeah.
second question for all you guys. When I'm at, I'm going to the store maybe once a week, and everybody for the most part in Connecticut is doing a very good job of social distancing and wearing, protective
Yeah.
gear.
Mhm.
But I've been thinking lately that when I see people with their nose hanging out of their mask, that I want to say something.
Mhm.
And my question to you guys is, should we say something? And if the answer is yes, what do you think that statement would be?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm in a little bit of a different situation because I'm a physician, and I'm correcting people every day, right? But that's my job.
In your domain. I mean,
Yeah, I'm
Jay,
at the hospital.
at the-
Like, if patients come in, if their mask is below their nose, I'm like, oh, you really need to have the mask over the nose. And I just say
Yeah.
it matter of factly, like a doctor talking to a patient, and like,
Right.
oh yeah, or whatever.
But if you're in the
and I just-
grocery store, do you do the
Yeah,
same
let's
thing?
talk about the
harder in a
grocery
grocery store, right? Where you're anonymous, but I think you need to do it. You know what I mean? If someone's close to you, I think that's sort of the good protocol is if they're within your space, then you have a right to request that they have a
But
mask.
what
that they wear
what does
properly.
that look like, right? Because like you have to be polite, but does that look like something like, are you aware that when you pull it down, when your nose is hanging out, that the whole mask doesn't work,
Yeah.
right? Because I think people are putting the mask like this because they have to wear a mask, but they don't want to wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
That's them getting out of wearing a mask. Fully,
Well, maybe you
because they
can
just
use some
pull their nose out.
psychology. Use a little psychology and say to them, "Oh, sir, you may not have noticed, but your mask slipped below your nose.
Yeah, yeah.
Perhaps you
Yeah.
want, if you are going to engage with
Yeah,
someone,
you act
be
as
as
if you are giving
gentle
them
as
the benefit of
possible.
the doubt, right? You
Yeah,
have to
that might be a good
give the most
strategy.
charitable interpretation.
you guys, should we tell the
Absolutely.
story about we were at that last week with that guy in line with us?
Oh yeah,
I
that
didn't
was
have it-
that was great. Go
cough
ahead,
on
Bob.
Yeah, tell them.
We were at it was a Captain Jack's, like crab house. What the hell was that place?
Roadside.
It's a cart.
Grill.
No, it's a mobile.
Yeah, so we're in line. We all got our masks on, getting our good takeaway food, and there was a guy in line behind us, not wearing a mask, and there was a guy in the an employee, and he's like, "Dude, put your mask on," and he's like, "Oh, I got a mask. It's right here," and he's like, "No, you put your mask on." He's like, "Well, I'm 6 feet away," and I love the guy's attitude was like. He had no patience. He was like, "Listen, you either put your mask on or you could leave. Those are your
He
options."
said,
that
"We're
was
not
his
serving
domain.
you
That was
without a
his
mask."
domain, right?
Yeah, we're not going to serve you.
Yeah.
And the guy looked all pissed off, and he
Well-
put the mask on. But But
Well, if you're going to be in someone else's domain like that,
Right.
you have to acquiesce to
Right.
their rules. And if those
And
are
you
their
know, yeah, if you're
rules,
serving
do it
people,
or you have to leave.
there's
Sorry.
there's a queue of people going past you every day.
Yep.
You're putting your life at risk. Nobody wants to die
Absolutely.
so they could sling a hash to some random person.
Yeah.
And so absolutely you have a right, and that can, if you're a frontline worker doing a job that puts you in contact with other people, and it's the policy, whatever.
That's
whether it's
correct.
at the state level, the local level, whatever your policy, you have to wear a mask. You could be absolutely an uncompromising dick about it. Absolutely, I agree with that.
Absolutely.
It's
And-
not
and
worth
also,
risking your life.
Right.
And
Plus
he probably
was
has to
flat-
say that to 100 people a day, Bob,
Yeah.
which is why
Well,
he
that's-
probably has low to no patience.
Oh yeah, he
for
had
the
zero
people.
tolerance, and but also the guy was flat out wrong in that you're 6 feet away without a mask on. That's not good. That's not good. 6 feet with no mask.
He's just
I
being
mean,
lazy. Is at that point.
but
There's no
people-
excuse. There's
but-
no excuse.
Well, Steve, how far away would you
Well,
have
what
to
about
be with no
12
mask
feet?
to
Yeah,
be
outside.
safe? Yeah, it'd have to
12
be
feet, right?
At least 12.
Yeah, I just
thought
actually,
it was
when I wrote about this week, actually, you know, it was a study that had good illustrations that showed like people with masks, people without masks, and breathing, talking, shouting, coughing, sneezing, and gave like a illustration of how far the big droplets go and the smaller droplets go, and it's freaking far. You know, 6
Yeah,
feet is
we're
just
a cloud
the
of
safe
liquid.
distance for the big droplets for talking, right? That's it. But anything else, but you're still getting the smaller droplets, even at 6 feet. And if they do anything else with their mouth, it could easily go 30 feet. You know what I mean? So the bottom line is you're not safe at any distance. You know, anything within 30 feet. But of course now if they're wearing a mask, it dramatically reduces the range of their spittle, you know, of all the stuff coming out of their mouth. And the better the mask, the better, you know, that's limited. And your mask, of course, protects you as well. So with both people wearing a mask, your risk isn't zero, but it's a good way to visualize how dramatically decreased the exposure is.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you wear a
There's
mask and
no
both
doubt
people wear
about
a
it.
mask.
You
Absolutely.
know, but
Makes
I always
all the
feel
sense.
very intimidated to say anything, and I
Yeah.
don't know why. Like I just feel like I have the right. Like if I'm in the supermarket, you know, I need food, and I want to go. I like getting out of the house, and I feel like, you know, I should be able to say, "Sir, would you mind please putting your mask on? I don't feel safe around you." That's one thing I was thinking about saying. You know, a month ago, I was using the word asshole 3 times in this sentence. I feel like now I'm starting to get control of myself, but. You know, I've been to Home Depot a few times since COVID started because, you know, there's a lot of house projects that I had time to do. And I mean, they're not even pretending at Home Depot to do it. Like almost every employee is wearing the mask below their mouth, just wearing it kind of on their neck right there. It's like, what? Why is Home Depot okay with that? Where's the management? Why isn't the company enforcing this? Where are the managers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep, that is it.
Can you
That's the
report
answer.
them?
It's hard. Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I thought of doing, I thought would be effective, Steve, was steal the microphone and get on the loudspeaker and just say something like, "Hey,
Put your fucking
put your
mask on,
goddamn
asshole."
mask on."
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at you, buddy.
But it's the law in Connecticut now, right? That you have to wear masks.
I don't know.
I don't know what the law per
We
se
should
is,
check
but
on
there
that.
is a sign on every, and I mean every establishment saying no entry without masks. And
Yeah, but
that's
is it up to each establishment?
At one point it was, but I don't know if how it's changed or evolved.
There is an executive order.
I haven't seen much of a. Yeah, there are executive orders.
So they probably
check
can
your
report
local,
them
you
to
know.
somebody.
Yeah, you could. You know, you spend your whole day being a nanny to other people, and
Yeah.
you know that it's a whole other thing.
Right.
I just avoid
power
people. Oh, that sucks.
Yes.
That sucks.
Yeah, that's what you
I
gotta do.
I will give people wide berth, and up in the store, I see they're coming my way, I go the other way, or I'll make sure that I maintain my distance. I'm very conscious of my space, and And if I notice there's going to be a, okay, I'll time it. This person's coming this way and that person's coming that way. If we all walk together, we're going to meet at that point. I won't walk. I'll stop. Let them go past each other and then I'll go. So I take more time now when I'm at a place like a grocery store, just so I can, be safe.
Right.
So my neighbor bought 5 chickens, and they're right across the street, right over here. At this time of day, they let them out. They let the chickens out, and they run around the yard, and I can see them. They're like right, across the street. It's funny. Like I love looking at them. So
Oxford's kind of a country town. It's quaint. It's neat New England town. It's cool.
So I talked to my neighbor a few days ago. He was out doing yard work. I was doing yard work, and I waved. So I start chit chatting. I'm like, hey, I noticed your chickens. Like, are you getting a lot of eggs? Like trying to cut to the chase. Like, what's the point? Is it just because of the eggs or whatever? He goes, yeah, I get a lot of eggs. He goes, I'm not eating them. I just thought it'd be fun to have chickens. I was like, okay. My kids love them, and my daughter picked up one of them and was like petting the chicken. Like they're cool. They didn't do anything. They're just totally tame. Like kind of like little dogs almost. Like they're not scared to be around people. They're just interacting, and I think it was really, I've just never seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really pretty. They're all different.
Yeah,
they're all very different. Like he has a really dark red one that's mottled with white and black, and like a very white head and a red what do you call the thing, the gobbler thing that hangs down?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a word for that. What is that? Someone
waddle?
knows.
Yeah. A waddle. But I look at the chickens and I'm like, I'm never doing that. I'm never going to do that. That's just work that I don't have time for.
Mm-hmm.
Do what?
Get chickens.
Maintain a chicken farm, chicken coop.
For eggs, you mean, or meat?
Eggs. Yeah, farm fresh eggs, Bob.
Oh my gosh, they're so good.
They're dramatically superior to the eggs you buy in the store.
Dramatically?
Yep. I think so. I've had farm fresh eggs and farm fresh bacon. That was homemade, and it was very different, very, very different, a lot tastier.
Mm-hmm.
Chickens will be gold in the apocalypse. Jeez.
Oh yeah,
right.
That would be a currency unto itself.
Yep.
Right.
Used to be.
So I saw a study, getting back to COVID, that the virus is mutating quite a bit.
Quite a bit?
Yeah. I mean, in general, the coronavirus doesn't mutate like nearly as much as the flu virus does.
Yeah, I'm on my stream.
Hi, Olivia.
Hey, Olivia.
Oh, hey, Olivia.
Who's that?
Uncle Bob.
Who is it?
Hi, baby.
It's Uncle Bob, Uncle Bob.
Let me just hear them.
All right, hold on. Say hi, guys.
Hi, Olivia.
Hey, Olivia.
How are you?
No, okay. All right. Honey, you know what? There's a lot of people watching us right now, and I know that you want to do this, but I gotta focus on this. Okay, I'll see you downstairs.
No, I want to say.
So here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's one mutation which makes the virus more contagious, and it's starting to predominate, which makes sense, right? That the more contagious one is going to spread more. But it's, even though it has a generally low mutation rate for a virus, there's just so many people infected. There's so much opportunity for this virus to mutate that more new mutations are emerging, and some of them are more contagious.
But I did read, Steve, that in general, over time, viruses will settle down and become, I think, less deadly over time. So
that's
a
regression to the mean, right? Because usually when there's an outbreak, it's because there's a strain that's a little bit more infectious or whatever.
Right.
And then as it mutates, it's going to in random directions. Most mutations are neutral. A lot will make it less, less bad. Less and less of an infectious agent. And so you can have a little bit of regression to the mean, but there's always the chance that one of the mutations is going to start basically a new outbreak within the outbreak.
Yeah.
Because it spreads easier, it's whatever. There's something about it that's going to make it more contagious, more infectious, more severe. And we're seeing it because because there's so much opportunity for that to happen. This is such a huge pandemic. There's 40,000 cases a day. That's a lot of the rolls of the genetic dice, that's happening. Yeah.
Well, let's switch over to something positive, if you don't mind.
Go
right.
right ahead.
All right. Well, okay. So we talked about it on the podcast, but we have not talked about it on the live stream. Because of the generosity of our listeners, we did break 4,000 patrons.
Yay!
Oh my gosh! I hope they're okay.
4,061 as of right now.
Yeah, guys. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. When behind the scenes, when we talk, we're very concerned about this year and the financials, and you have been helping tremendously. We really appreciate it. But it's also a good time to become a patron. Like you'll hear on the show. I think it was this last show that we talked about it, right?
The one coming out tomorrow.
Yeah. So what Steve and I talked about, and what we think we're going to move forward with, is that we're going to do the 12-hour show from the SGU studio, and soonish, like within the next few months, 2 to 3 months.
Probably January. But we'll come out with a specific date, but we're looking at January.
For 12 hours of content, it takes work. We also want to give people time enough to plan for it,
But yeah.
And then what we'll do is we will decouple the Star Trek Museum and turn that into an SGU conference, which when I say conference, meaning it has to be an in-person thing. So it has to be when COVID gets to a safe point. And then we will specifically create a day of activity about being at the museum and everything with that. But the another reason why I bring this up is the Star Trek phaser rifle has to find a home.
Yeah, it's got to go.
This bad boy. Yeah. So right now, we could pick a winner right now. I'm going to wait a little while. I'm going to give it, probably another month or two.
Can you guys see my phaser in the background?
Yeah, where is it, Steve?
Do you see it? Can you see it? Can people in the chat see it?
Zoom in here.
I don't.
It's like, where's Waldo? Or I'll go get it, and you'll see where.
All right, go ahead. Yeah, so you will still be entered if you become a patron. You'll still be entered to win this. This was made by David Tremont, who is a model maker and prop builder at Wetaworks in New Zealand. This is a hero prop. It's amazing. These are
Mine, of course, is better than Jay's.
we had to hand make these. He handmade everything and hand painted and hand did everything, but then he shipped it to us. We had to build it ourselves because it couldn't ship like this.
Hopefully, send instructions.
He did. He sent video instructions, which I'll be giving.
I couldn't do it without detailed instructions. This is a very complicated piece of equipment here.
Seriously, I mean.
Yeah. There's a lot
set
of
stun to kill, kill to stun. I mean,
you can see there's a lot of pieces here. This comes out. This is a I forget how it comes out.
Oh,
This is actually like the battery to a tool or something.
Yeah, when we were talking to him about what.
Yeah, is it on top? I think it's on top. No, on the.
So
price is
he
not
he found an electric drill, I think it was, and he found battery packs that clicked in a way that he liked.
I think the light.
Boom.
Yeah, there's the light.
Oh.
LED light works.
Yeah, my battery went dead because I play with it all the time.
Yeah.
Bottom line is it's a gorgeous prop, and you can wear it in multiple ways. Go ahead, Steve.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I just want to finish telling everyone. So you can register, one, by becoming a patron, or two, going to theskepticsguide.org / what was it? H2?
T3.
H3. T3. Thank you. Sorry. T3. Or you can go to alphaquadrant6.com / T3. You'll see the registration page there. Please do it because it'll be fun. And you have a chance to win. You can win something really cool. when we were at Weta this last time, we spent a lot of time with David, the prop builder who built that, and he showed us more stuff that he built. It's remarkable how good of a prop maker he is. As a matter of fact, he was what was the TV show? I always forget the name of the TV show that had the mannequins, the puppets. It was Thunderbirds, right?
The Thunderbirds. They're redoing it.
Remember that TV show? They redid it. Yeah, it's already out.
Oh, wow.
And he was one of the primary prop builders for that show. And we got to see like all of these spaceships and vehicles and all these things that he did. And I mean, the detail work is immense and it's remarkable. It's remarkable that people can do this type of stuff with their hands. It just blows my mind. I'm not a very artistic person when it comes to drawing or building or any of that stuff.
But the good news is,
I just don't understand how people can do it.
But the good thing is, though, especially with the stuff that David does, it's a lot of technique. And when you know the technique, you know, which he did teach us some of it, and he has, you know, people asked if you read the books. Yes, we have all. He gave us all of his books. His books are fantastic. You can be remarkably creative and create stuff that looks really good if you just use some simple technique. You don't need to have extreme artistic talent. You don't have to be able to freehand things or whatever, or sculpt. But if you use like little tricks and techniques, you could make, you know, really interesting things. You know? Yeah,
without a doubt. I think definitely the prop making like that. You're right.
Like we
Steve,
made
like
our
that.
own phasers. You guys remember that? It was the previous version of AQ6. It had a little bit more of a plot to it, and so we had like uniforms and phasers. I made all the phasers out of like toys. I thought they looked really cool.
Yeah, they were cool.
I probably got one of those sitting around here somewhere.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it looked good on camera. But the difference between the phasers that you made, Steve, and the thing that David made, it's a hero prop, so it's meant to be handled. It's meant to be up close with the camera.
Right.
It is as good as it gets.
It's got heft. It's made of metal. There's actual metal pieces that he creates.
Yeah. Oh, it's heavy.
What's his last name, Jay? Tremont, right?
David Tremont. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, just seeing him do his thing, and then he showed us all of the stuff that he basically, I guess, saves all of his favorite things that he makes, and he laid it out for all of us, and oh my God, it was ridiculously cool.
Passion on display.
Yeah,
he had toys that his father made for him when he was younger, and it was all of the Thunderbird ships.
Vehicles.
Like,
neat.
All their vehicles.
Neat.
And so you could say this is sort of baked into his DNA, right? This is something he's been doing since he was a child, and he did with his father. But yeah, just really, really cool.
Let's get to Evan's puzzle.
Sure.
All right. So behind me, to my left, this is my left, you see a set of letters followed by numbers. So each one of those, there's 8 different ones. Each of these are begin with a letter, and they're followed by numbers. One letter followed by numbers. Now, there has been at least one correct guess, if not several. And Bob, why don't you take a crack at it?
Well, my first thought was cells in a Excel spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That may have some significance. Is there a 0? No, there is no 0. V0, it'd be the lowest would be a 1, wouldn't it? So then maybe that's wrong. So
in the world of Excel. Okay. Steve, did you have any ideas or thoughts?
No idea.
No idea. All right. How about this? Let's eliminate the letters. All right. Just look at the numbers. And I would go from maybe bottom to top. That might reveal some kind of pattern. Anything? Yeah, Carl Lowry. Very good. Very good. He got it. Joshua, you got it.
Oh, yeah. I got it. Yeah. If you go from the bottom to the top, that makes more sense.
0, 0, 1, 2.
Those numbers are also
very
tentative. Those are tentative.
Yes, they are tentative, but I did get them from NASA's official site because those are the number of moons per planet. Mercury 0, Venus 0, Earth 1, Mars 2, Jupiter 79, Saturn 62, Uranus 27, Neptune 14. And just for reference, let's bring up the old website here. It's from NASA's science, solarsystem.nasa.gov. Nice. Moons in depth. How many moons does each planet have? Now, Saturn and Jupiter, these numbers consist of both confirmed moons and provincial provisional moons.
Provisional. There's going to be provincial moons.
Provisional.
What would that be like?
You got to get these glasses cleaned up. And there are 53 confirmed moons for each Jupiter and Saturn, at least as of the publication of this webpage, which I imagine is hopefully up to date. And the remainders are provisional. So, so that's where I pulled it from. And
Cool. That was a good one.
Always look for patterns in the.
That's cool.
Ian, can you see my desktop? Can you show this file?
Yeah. Okay, I'll add it. Talk amongst yourself.
All right. Talk
Hi.
amongst yourselves. While he's doing that, Bob, tell us about your zombie heads.
So this is probably the last batch of really my favorite masks that I dug up from the basement. The witch one might be one of my favorites. I mean, how do you beat that profile? I mean, I first had her like this, but that doesn't do her any justice. This is just like such a freaky head. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I would suggest if you want to buy a latex mask that lasts for a long time, get it as thick as you possibly can. This guy here is super thick latex. It's really, really thick. And this has got to be like 15 years old. And this is just still so supple and there's nothing stiff about it. This is going to last for a long time, but eventually I think they just leach water over time and eventually they're just going to dry up and get brittle. But just creepy masks that I have that I want to start. I'm buying more of these styrofoam stands so I could display them properly and put them somewhere. But yep. So not a lot more to say about my mask this
That
week.
zombie one is awesome.
Which one? This one? This one?
Bob, the zombie one is really cool. No,
Yeah,
the one right below your hand.
This one or this one?
The one with the tongue right? Yeah.
Yeah. He's
That's
cool.
that's not
Oh,
a
yeah.
zombie. That's a mummy.
Yeah, you're right.
Whoa.
But it's kind of like kind of related to a zombie though.
Can be
Yeah, this
both.
guy's cool. Like, he's too bad this is a little bit tight on my head, but yeah, he's pretty creepy.
And Bob, how many days until Halloween?
Oh, not enough and too many. It's just to think that in like 5 weeks it's going to be all over, and then reality's going to set
Oh my
in.
God.
No, just
Yeah,
I got
but
a lot.
Bob-
I got a lot of work to do because I'm not only decorating the house, but I'm working on the professional haunt, Forest of Fear, and working on an awesome costume. Holy shit, my costume is going to be epic.
COVID hasn't slowed you down, that's for sure.
Jay knows what that is, but there's just a lot of work, and it's just like this is my creative outpouring for the year in these 2 months leading up to Halloween. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But
Bob, speaking of your costume, did that tutu come in yet?
Tutu, no, but I got so many good ones. I don't even need the one I ordered, Jay.
Should we show this?
Yeah, go ahead. So don't say anything, guys. So for those
we
watching
won't
the
see
stream,
it. How do we see it though? We never
What
see
do
it.
you have to watch the stream?
You'd have to look on the thing.
what do you
I'm
think this is?
watching. Let's see what happens here.
I can't see anything.
Well, not you guys. Let the chat.
It's
Yes.
Have a look
yeah.
at the stream.
What does that look
Also,
like?
the stream.
That is the proposed cover that we have to approve
Oh yeah.
of our book
I saw
in
that.
Mandarin Chinese, which is about to come out.
Yeah, actually, if anybody can read Chinese, would you mind reading that for us and
And
telling
letting us know
Actually,
if there are
it's
any
okay?
typos.
This
Good
Pepe
question.
Smith
Yeah.
says they can read that. Pepe Smith in the
Pepe
chat.
Smith, yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Because we're supposed to approve
Mandarin.
it. We have no idea what it
Yeah, well,
says.
it's-
I know,
you
like-
might-
It looks good to me.
It looks good. Yeah, I
It's-
think it is really. It's fascinating to see a book cover in like a language like that because you have just absolutely no idea what it says.
But it's
And-
also just like
and the
you
design
really get a
element
feel for the different cultures, the way they make their book covers look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In
Yeah,
terms of like how busy it is and the kind of iconography they like to use and the style they like to use.
Lee says it's Skeptic's Guide to Meatballs. So
So,
already.
Close enough. That's
Different.
good.
All right, I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
Steve, I got a request from
Get me back.
our good friend Steve Blackwell.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve Blackwell.
He wants to know about the health benefits of some new product that he found. It's called
Just keep taking it until you get
It's
sick
called-
or better.
It's called Testicuzzi, and it's essentially a jacuzzi for testicles. So, what are your thoughts on this product, Steve?
I think Goop is selling it for
Sounds like a sperm filler to me.
$10,000 probably.
So what's the claim? I mean,
The claim, I don't know.
is it
It's
just cooler than other jacuzzis? Is that it?
It's
It sounds like
it's just.
a joke.
I'm not seeing them. I'm on the website site now. I'm not sure what claims they're making.
I'll look into it, but I don't know anything
right.
off the top of my head. I've never.
Yeah,
heard
we
of
expect a
jacuzzi.
full report here.
Should we
Oh
take
my
questions
God.
early? Since we have no quiz, just start taking questions.
Yeah, I'm running out of battery too. I don't know how long I got.
All right.
Somebody asked me while Ian's looking up some questions. Somebody asked me about any scary things that I create myself, and yeah, there's a bunch of stuff I've made over the years. I've made a lot of corpses. I would basically buy like a really good mask and maybe hands, and then create a body out of PVC and then chicken wire, then dress it and put the masks on. So I made a bunch of those. The best thing I probably ever created was a clown that stands there and its upper body rotates. It spins, and it had a special clown mask with 3 evil clown faces. So it spun around while
Because
it laughed.
one's not enough.
Yeah, while it laughed maniacally. That's probably one of the coolest props I ever created. It's just so sad that thing no longer exists, but we got a lot of good scares out of that. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Just describing it
Let's
is.
see. What's the origin of the SGU theme music? So when we first
yeah.
started the podcast, Jay just went away. I wonder if
Yeah, I think his
his
phone
died.
died.
Went away.
So there's an interesting story behind our theme music. So we were using Weird Science, right? You guys know that song, Weird Science?
Weird song. Yeah, I love that song.
Boingo Boingo.
Right? Was that the one? Is that what we used for our initial theme song?
No,
Then-
we used
No.
Blinded. No, we used Thomas.
Blinded
Edison.
Me
She
with
blinded
Science.
Yeah, she
Yes.
blinded me with science. You're right. She blinded me with science. And then after a few episodes, like, we're just using the song without permission. And as we're getting
Yes. Sorry, Tom.
more than 3 listeners, maybe we should, not do that. So we went on PodSafe Music. There's a website on PodSafe Music, and there's like hundreds of songs on there that you can use. Most of them are free, but you have to give the artist recognition. So like at the end of the
Right.
episode, say,
A credit.
yeah,
They get
this
an
the
oral
music
credit.
by whatever, by whoever. So we did that. We found a good song, and it's the one that's currently in the show. And then 7-8 years ago, something like that, the artist who did that song, came across our podcast and heard his song as our theme music, and contacted us and said, "Hey, I'm the guy who wrote the song that you guys are using for your theme music. I'll be happy to do an updated version of it for you." So we're like, "Yeah, that would be great."
It was great.
So because what he had was a song, and we were just using like the first intro to it, like the first 30 seconds, and then looping it. So we said, "Yeah, what we really could use is like just use that opening, but make it into like a 3-4 minute theme song, you know what I mean, without lyrics and you know what I mean, and so that we don't have to loop it." And so we did it, and it sounds really, really great. I love it.
Yeah.
When you hear the whole thing only really on the live stream, because we play it for the 2-minute countdown, so you get to hear like the full 2 minutes, whereas you only get like whatever 20-30 seconds in the show. So anyway, it was.
Steve, somebody asked about the woman who introduces science or fiction.
Yeah. So who is that? That's a famous skeptic.
It used to be Jay's ex-wife, right?
Yeah, briefly. Then
Yeah.
we got rid of that.
Then yeah.
She revoked her consent to use her voice, which wasn't really. But so that is Izzy Lawrence. I'm pretty sure that's her name. So that's she's a Welsh skeptic. So that's her real accent. I love it when people rise and go, "Who's the fake? Yeah, who's the fake accent you have. Like, that's
That's the worst accent I've
Lawrence,
ever
that's
heard.
an actual,
legit.
genuine. That's her genuine accent.
Oh boy.
Yeah, she was very, very nice to do that for us, and she's offered to update it whenever we want to and to whatever. So it was very nice. Any
Cool.
other questions, Ian? Questions?
Yes. So we haven't talked about R values in quite some time. Now that we've got so much more data, do we have a better sense of R naught?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at it recently either. It's the idea is what's the, you get below 1, which is essentially like the infection rate. Like for every person who gets infected, how many people do they infect? And when you start to get below 1, then the number
That's
infected
the
should
goal.
be going down. When the R naught is greater than 1, then the outbreak, epidemic, or pandemic is still spreading. So I don't know what the most recent calculated R naught is. I could look it up.
We can find that. Who's going to have that? R naught by state. State by state.
A lot of questions
How
about the
old is
basic.
this? Oh, this
question.
is way old. It's June. Can't go with
Yeah.
that.
Nothing comes up right away. I'll have to look it up more to
Yeah.
see what it is. Maybe we'll talk about it next week. We'll do a deeper dive on it.
Good question.
There's another question. Have you heard about the new mutations of coronavirus? A report is saying that it may bypass masks and hand washing.
So we just talked about this, about the new mutations, and it is getting more contagious. So I don't think that it bypasses masks or hand washing. That might be like the hype that's going beyond the actual story. But there's a more contagious version of the virus is starting to spread around. I don't know how much of a difference it would make. So few people are asking me in the chat, Steve, honest question, would you ever consider running for president? One of the biggest problems is that only certain people would ever attempt to be president. The answer is a hard no, because I don't have the skill set to be a president. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, I think I would probably be a good science advisor to a president who would listen to a science advisor or something like that. But but quite honestly, I don't think that's a job for an amateur. I think you need years of experience as an executive, as an administrator, in politics. I mean, I would be
Governors tend to make
somebody
successful.
like us. We would be complete. They would chew me up and spit me out. Again, I would be totally at the mercy of the people serving me. You know what I mean? Like, so if like anyone who I think is just a generally competent, smart person who maybe has some reasonable ideas about how to run a government and everything, if they get surrounded by competent, honest people who genuinely want to help them do a good job, okay, you probably will do fine. But they won't be able to really know, right? They could also get close to them manipulators or people who could subvert what they want to do to their own agenda or whatever. I think you do need an experienced, strong hand in that position. I would need years of experience in other jobs before I would even think of doing that, and it's not going to happen. And it's not going to happen because think about the hundreds of hours of audio I have online that people could comb through. My life is way more of an open book than any politician who would run for federal office could be.
You're too honest, frankly.
Yeah.
In a way, that's the truth.
It. 100%.
That is the truth.
Absolutely. I hate politics. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
I could
gosh.
not. I would be the anti-politician. Now, there's sometimes
too.
there are politicians who can get away with that. There are different strategies that politicians use, and one of them is to be a virtue politician, where you kind of like your shtick is that you're not really a politician and you're kind of a straight shooter and a maverick or honest or whatever. That would be the only lane I could really theoretically go in. But I just got to be honest with myself. I just have nowhere near the skill sets that would be necessary. And I think it's frankly hubris. Like when I see people running for president, including our current president, who have no executive experience, like what the hell do you think you're doing? You really think you're going to just walk into it? Really is. It's not only arrogance, it's disrespectful. You really think that you are the person that should run the free world, that should run, the United States with no prior executive experience. Come on. I think it's, it's silly.
Okay, next question. Would a very prolific respiratory virus circulating in a population when a good portion of the people have been vaccinated increase the chance of mutating to become resistant to the vaccine?
So could the virus become resistant to the vaccine? Is that the question?
Yeah, it's like if people are vaccinated or a significant portion, will it maybe be more likely to lead to a mutation?
No, it's less likely. This has been studied ad nauseum. There's a very specific answer to this. It's much less likely because the vaccine makes the virus spread less. I know it seems counterintuitive that you would think, well, there'd be a chance to get resistant to the vaccine. But no, actually, by just reducing the spread of the virus, you dramatically reduce the probability of any new mutation arising, including resistance to the vaccine itself, despite the fact that you think there's a selective pressure there. It's always a good idea to shut down the spread of a virus with the vaccine.
Here's a question, I think following up from last week's show. Can you talk more about cheesecake and pornography from last week? What happens in the brain?
Yeah, I like doing both at the same time. So there's a paradigm, a concept, a hypothesis within psychology that modern society, just because of selective pressures in the economy, in whatever, it leads to superstimulation, right? So restaurants compete with each other by having cheap, yummy food, right? So that's it. That's the feedback loop. They're not competing with each other to have more nutritious food or anything like that, or to make you healthy. And
Gosh, no.
How do you get people, how do you have people like really like the flavor of your food? You load it up with butter or whatever. You just make it
Sugar.
You overstimulate we evolved to like really crave sugar and fat because we evolved, up until very recently, we were calorie limited, and most of humanity for most of our evolution were living on the brink of starvation. And so there was a huge positive selective pressure to have, to really like fat and sugar. But now we're living with abundance, and
it's weaponized, actually.
Yeah, you could weaponize it.
Yeah.
That desire for sugar and fat could be, we could do things like make cheesecake. Like that's like you're not going to see cheesecake on the Serengeti. So we just did not evolve to deal with the super stimulation. That's something that is like maximally delicious and like really pushes our hippocampus, like cheesecake. Then by the same token, you have, the pornography, which can also stimulate our, erotic centers in a way that just generally doesn't happen out in the real world, out in life, And so if you do that over and over and over again, you sort of resets your baseline for what you expect in terms of your stimulation. Or
that's
the same
related.
thing.
Yeah, that's related, Steve, like to like advertising, when
Totally.
with women, say models, men or women, that are just so crazy beautiful and handsome that this is somebody that that you probably would never have seen in your entire life. You may have seen one or two people that were that gorgeous, and now we're just inundated every day. And then
not only that, Bob,
you add makeup, and then you add
Yes.
Photoshop, and then it just amps it up even more.
Yeah, you're flipping through a magazine looking at models, whatever. Those aren't real people. They've been completely
airbrushed, everything.
Airbrushed and manipulated. It's an unrealistic ideal, right? So then the superstimulation then normalizes an unrealistic ideal. And then even like roller coasters, right? That's like we've learned through technology how to give ourselves maximal thrill safely. Like, right, so normally prior to like the technology of having roller coasters, you would never be able to get a thrill like that without actually risking your life. And so we just most humans prior to modern technology wouldn't experience anything like that.
Yeah, so they've learned the mantra is in the game is fear minus death equals fun.
Yeah.
You know, people
Right.
will come back, and I love.
Or think
roller
about
coasters.
That's why people like horror movies too.
horror movies, splatter
Yeah.
movies, right? Bob, we as kids, we lived through the era of not just the horror film, but the splatter movie, right?
Splatter,
Where the
yep,
goal
slasher.
of
Gore.
the movie was maximal gore. And there was literally an arms race of, I guess figuratively, an arms race of maximal gore in those movies. And we were the target audience, right? And we lived through it, and we would go see every movie where they just upped it one notch. Like now, what are they? It's like every movie, like the gore was ratcheted up
Right.
one notch, and they had to keep doing that. They had to keep doing that in order to overstimulate our desire for gore.
Yeah,
But
it's
then
the
you go
Final
back-
Destination series of
Yeah.
movies. Think about those. I mean, one is just a trying to up the gore factor on the
Right.
last movie. That is all those movies
It's
are.
all it was, and then you watch
That's
like
it.
something from 5 years ago. You're like, oh my god, this is boring. What the hell? This is
Lame.
Like, oh,
Boring.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Alien. Oh my gosh, that's still a good movie.
Alien was good,
Yeah, suspense.
but it wasn't a splatter movie. It was
No, it wasn't
yeah.
a splatter movie. But
It was just
you
the
get the
gore was in service to plot and excitement and everything. It wasn't just the thing unto itself. Where these movies were, the gore was the movie. That was the movie. It was a thin shell of plot, just enough to justify having maximal gore. That's the only
Yeah.
reason why you saw those movies.
Yeah, and then you got to movies like
Plus-
Reanimator and
Yeah.
the Human
Well, the-
Centipede and stuff.
the
And
gore
then it
plus
just kind
the
of
new-
jumped the shark at that point, really.
Yeah, the gore plus the nudity. I mean, that was that was a
You always got to
perfecta
throw
right
that
there.
in
Those
there.
two.
Well, yeah.
Again, got to know your
come on.
target audience, 13-year-old boys. I think, was it the Texas Chainsaw Massacre that really started that arms race of gore?
Probably.
That's my memory. I don't know.
I
if
don't
that's
know, because if
literally
you-
true.
if you
That was
look- if
definitely
you look-
early on in the process. That was the
That
one
was
that, like,
considered like a taboo movie in the
Yeah.
70s. Like, oh
Yeah,
my
but-
gosh, you
But
can't
if
see
you
that.
yes, but if you watch that movie, even back then, a lot of the crazy gore and scary stuff was implied. There wasn't a lot of overt.
It wasn't in
gore
your
in that
face.
movie. It wasn't.
It was shadows and silhouettes.
It
and
was yes. It was a lot of it was implied.
suggestions.
Which,
lot
which
like-
you could argue that,
yeah.
that was good. I mean, one scene I remember that I'll never forget.
Oh, it's
that movie was-
effective.
I mean, it was some guy just took a guy up or a woman and just put her on a hook, and she's just wriggling there on a hook, and that was just it wasn't explicitly gory, but the idea was
Yeah.
just like so unnerving. But yeah, so that was tame. Texas Chainsaw Massacre was tame compared to a lot of stuff that, and especially the stuff that came after it.
Mhm. What's next?
Question: can anything be done with people who give most of their attention to things like Fox News or social media? Seems like no matter your strategy, you won't be able to help them given how little time we can spend with them compared to the time disinformation sources.
Yeah,
they-
we failed with our own father, so what the hell do we know? To be honest with you. We failed with more than one family member, or close acquaintance or second or third degree family member. There's no magic formula, especially
Nope.
if you don't have a lot of access to them. If you're like seeing them at holidays or seeing them every couple of weeks, you can't
You can't compete
undo
with
the
the
damage in
internet
that
and the-
time.
You can't
Yeah,
compete.
so my recommendation is one is I think probably you're better off preserving your relationship with them. It's
Yeah.
probably not worth sacrificing your relationship with them if you think
Unless
you're not
unless
making-
you want to sacrifice it.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, depends on what your goal is and what your baseline relationship is. Like, you have a good relationship with a close friend or family member or whatever, and it turns out that they're on the other side of the political spectrum from you. You have to decide for yourself, but you just think about let me put it this way: don't sacrifice your relationship without explicitly deciding that that's okay with you.
Yeah, don't burn your
do it as a
bridge.
side effect because that you didn't intend.
Right.
Because you're probably not going to change their mind. Just first of all, just understand that. And again, you're probably better off just giving them facts and then just letting it go. Like,
Yeah.
here's something that I found, do with it what you will, or, talking about critical thinking in other contexts and hoping they internalize some of it. And the thing is, occasionally it does work. There are definitely cases where people do get deprogrammed. It happens. I can't tell you that the probability is 0. It's just low. And there's no guaranteed way to do it. So you might as well not drive yourself crazy, not destroy your
Right.
family, not destroy your relationship. Just, as we always say, plant the seeds and see what
Plant the
happens.
seed.
But don't
Yeah,
take
that's often-
responsibility for it because you can't control it. You can't control it. And then we have to work for societal change, for systemic change, because, on an individual level, it's not good.
A lot of broken things out there. A lot of broken.
So along those lines, how, if at all, has the rise of social media changed your opinion on the marketplace of ideas?
So, yeah, I mean, I still think, because social media is a double-edged sword, right? It's a fantastic thing and it's a horrible thing. It's a great thing for the marketplace of ideas, and I think there's lots of examples, and skepticism is one of those. I think we have a real disproportionate spread in social media because of the power of our ideas and the power of our arguments and our process, right? I mean, who am I? I'm nobody when you think about it, but I have almost daily contacts with the press because I'm a skeptic and because I'm out there, putting these ideas out there, and so I think social media has been fantastic for that. But what social media has allowed, and I think it's a number of things, but one of the things that it has allowed the worst of us to anonymously disrupt all conversation, right? And when you basically let sociopaths run wild in society without any accountability and basically anonymously,
they're going to do damage.
They're going to run and cause havoc. Yeah. And so that's what they're doing. And then another factor is it also, again, this is another one of those arms races where there's an incentive to not only sensationalize, but to create alternative realities, right? If you can create an alternative reality bubble where you don't have to worry about things like facts or transparency or fairness or whatever, you can just optimize your medium for profit. How are we going to grab and hold eyes and then sell them shit, right? And then you have things like Alex Jones. Alex Jones is a perfect example of the dark underbelly of social media. I don't think that guy even believes anything he says. Like in court, he said this is all performance art, right?
Yeah.
So he just said, all right, I'm just going to say the most outrageous, ridiculous conspiracy things possible.
Yeah, he plays the character Alex Jones on his show.
In order to sell his product.
So he can sell crap.
Yeah, to people.
Oh,
and it allows for that to happen as well. And so I guess the challenge for our society is how do we preserve the best of social media and mitigate the worst? You're never going to get rid of it, but how do we change this balance a little bit? Because right now it's totally lopsided the bad way. And again, there's no one simple answer to it. It's a complicated problem. But I do think there are some things that we can do about it, like the big social media outlets taking responsibility for dangerous lies, not just like opinion, but like dangerous misinformation on their sites. So that's like the shortest answer I could give to a very complicated issue, but I think that's kind of what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Maybe just one more question?
Well, this is probably the hardest hitting question. This is a question for the rogues. Why or why not?
Because.
Oh, yes.
That's whatever you were talking about for you.
Ooh, it's about as philosophical as it gets.
Okay, that's a good one. This one is, when are the rogues going to get their matching tattoos? SGU tattoos. Never.
Probably never.
I'm not getting a tattoo.
Wait, I already got. Oh, okay.
But if I were to get if I were to get a tattoo,
yes,
it would either be one of two things, which is so easy to predict. It's ridiculous. It would be like, say, like a robotic arm, like my arm was a robot. Like you're peering under the skin and seeing robotics.
Tattoo sleeve.
So no, I don't think I'd ever do that. So it would be something technological, some cool like circuit symbol or something. And if I had to get a Halloween one, I saw a Halloween tattoo recently that just blew me away, and I got it right here. Oh, that's not it. But I don't think I ever would. But if I did, it would be this one.
Yeah,
it's probably hard to appreciate, but the detail on this
has a depth to it.
I've never seen a tattoo like that. I mean, I love the spider with the face, and even the bats are very interestingly drawn. You're probably not doing it justice, but I've never seen such amazing detail on a tattoo. So So those are the ones that I really that I love. But I've seen lots of 3-dimensional tattoos that are truly amazing works of art, really stunning. But I don't think I would ever. I don't know. If I got something, it would be little and cool and kind of out of the way.
Tattoo is not in my future at all. I'm dreading the day Rachel gets a tattoo.
Not for me.
Not for me.
I definitely appreciate creative, well-drawn tattoos. I love them.
This isn't really a question, but one of our members in the Discord, which you can get access to by going to patreon.com/skepticsguide and becoming a patron, seems like they're starting a new subreddit called So Prove It. It seems like a subreddit dedicated to going after specific claims and trying to get as much evidence for specific claims as possible. So
yeah, that's good.
That's
like
cool.
it.
Oh, we'll keep an eye on that.
I think that's pretty much everything from the Discord.
That gonna wrap it up?
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for joining us for another Friday stream thing. Sorry, Jay lost his power. Down to just the three of us, just the core, right?
The core, baby. So Steve, after
amigos.
this, Steve, I hope you leave immediately and get your ass over here with your family so we can
Fusilli
have our
meatballs. Got
fusilli and
Have
meatballs.
that dinner.
Nice.
And then the boys.
And then the boys.
So it's like
no delays. Start driving.
Out right now.
big night.
Excellent.
Thank
All
you
right.
all.
Good
as
night,
usual.
everybody.
Lots of hand sanitizer.
Thanks again for all your
Wash
support.
hands. Thank you.
Bye, guys. See you next Friday.
Thank you, patrons. We love you.
Skeptic's Guide to the Universe is produced by SGU Productions, dedicated to promoting science and critical thinking. For more information, and support the show and all the work that we do, go to patreon.com/skepticsguide and consider becoming a patron and becoming part of the SGU community. Our listeners and supporters are what make SGU possible.